Hey friends, we're reading Zane and the Hurricane, chapter 13, and we'll see how far we can get. Okay, here we go. Chapter 13, When It Can't Get Worse. The light is fading from the dreary sky when Mr. True finally rests his paddle and announces, "We're here." The canoe nudges up against a flight of stairs that rises out of the oily, dark water. The ground floor of the building remains submerged, but the second floor apartment is, as he promised, above the flood. The apartment, he explained, belongs to a friend. Della won't mind, he says, leaving the canoe leashed to the railing. She's in Natchez with her daughter. But the door is locked. Of course it is, he says softly and turns to Malvina. Can you climb in through that little window, darling? She squints at the small window. No problem. In less than a minute, she's opening the front door with a mischievous grin. There's a big TV and an AC, she announces as we step inside. The big TV and a new air conditioner, but no electricity. Not a surprise, really, since most of the power lines have been down or carried away by the flood. Mr. True says we'll have to make do. Della keeps a nice kitchen, he says. We ain't going to starve. Is there a phone I can use, I ask. Sometimes a landline phone will work even when the power's out. Everything's down, he says, shaking his head. Ain't got my cell, but even if I did, I doubt it'd work. A day after a bad storm, the phone's always out, and this ain't no regular hurricane. Tomorrow we'll find us some dry ground wherever it at and get you back with your family. Bandy is sniffing every corner of the small apartment, including under the couch and the bed, and keeps making little happy yelps like he's discovered something interesting. Did the owner have a cat? I asked. Queenie, Mr. True said, surprised. But Della never leave that cat behind. No way. Doesn't matter that the cat's gone. Bandy can still smell it anywhere. He's wagging his tail and looking for a friend because Bandy is one of those weird dogs who likes cats and wants to play. But he comes running fast enough when I locate a can of cat food and pop the lid. It turns out a hungry dog will eat cat food, no problem. And humans will eat canned spaghetti, no problem either. Me and Mr. True share a can of spaghetti and some stale bread that Malvina has a bowl of cereal and the last of the milk in the refrigerator. You children drink up what's left, he suggests. Another hour or two and everything in that fridge will start to go bad. Malvina pours the rest of the milk into a glass and offers it to me. I shake my head. She eagerly drains the glass and wipes her mouth with a paper napkin. My mom always say don't leave nothing in the glass. Where's your mom? I ask, thinking of my own mother. Malvina stares down at the table and frowns. In a hospital. Oh, I say. What's wrong with her? Did I say there was something wrong with my mama? Did I? Don't you be saying there is. Sorry. Don't you be sorry. Don't need no sorry from no stupid boy. She glares at me so hard it makes my face hot. Mr. True takes off his hat and places it carefully on the kitchen chair beside him. Without the jaunty hat, he looks older. His dreads are a little thin and have some gray in them, although it's hard to see in the fading light. And when he removes his black framed glasses to wipe the sweat from his brow, his eyes are puffy and the whites are kind of yellow. Malvina's mother left her in my care, he explained. It's a temporary situation, and I am happy to oblige. Where's your mom, huh? Malvina says with her chin jutting out. How come she ain't here? So I explain about visiting my great-grandmother and how our flight got canceled and how I jumped out of the church van to look for Bandy and all. Beatrice Jackson, that sing in the choir, Miss Trissy? That was her place we found you at? Oh my, that woman's a legend in the neighborhood. Drop so much as a cigarette butt on her street and you're in trouble. She still go, all the time? I nod. So he says, super casual, what's your daddy's name? Gerald. Uh-huh, you say he passed? Before I was born, you knew him? He hesitates and says, knew of him, you might say. Not personal. I like it that he doesn't make a fuss about my father being dead, even if he does know something he doesn't care to share. Fine by me. I mean, what does it matter? My father got himself killed. Brothers are ancient history, okay? My father and he got himself killed brother are ancient history, okay? Water under the bridge or whatever. Or over it or whatever. Except it turns out Mr. True is not quite finished with the subject. Comes to me that both of you have that in common, that your daddies passed away before you were born, he says, folding his arms and looking from me to Malvina. She doesn't react, not giving anything away. Then I shrug. She shrugs back, like we've both heard we can stand about. I'm sorry, like we've both heard all we can stand about absent fathers, and there's no need for further conversation. She holds that blank, you can't touch me expression for a while and then goes, "Why you talk so funny, huh?" "Don't be rude, darling," Mr. True says in a warning tone. "It's okay," I say. "In New Hampshire, we think you talk funny." Malvina grins and shakes her head like she approves that I came right back at her. "Everybody talk funny, I guess," she concedes. "So, what they do in New Hampshire?" "What they do everywhere else, I guess. The usual stuff." "Like what?" I shrug. "Nothing special. The grown-ups go to work. Mostly the kids go to school. Like that." "And when you not in school, we play video games and hang out at the mall or whatever." It sounds so lame, but I really miss it. Uh-huh. Do I'm sorry. They do procession in New Hampshire, Malvina asks. When Mr. True sees me looking puzzled, he explained about funeral processions, which in New Orleans are kind of a solemn celebration. The city is famous for them. Some tourists call it a jazz funeral. We make a parade through the neighborhood so folks can pay respects to the ones that passed, but with music, and everything in the city is about music. And dancing in the second line, Malvina adds. Oh, yeah, that too. See, the first line is the family and friends of the deceased, and the line that follows after the band is everybody else. We call it the second line. Malvina says eagerly. Second line, dress up and do special step walk dance you only do for funerals. And we all find ladies dab their eyes with lace handkerchiefs and twirl their umbrellas and everything to a drum beat. Kind of slow, or slow kind of beat, real mournful, all the way to the cemetery. The whole neighborhood come to watch. Somebody special if they pass. True, blowing his trumpet. On the way back from the cemetery, he plays Saints and everybody dance. Maybe you don't even go to the deceased, but you dancing because Trudell Manning be playing his high sweet music. Sounds pretty weird to me dancing at a funeral. I've only been to one funeral when my mom's cousin died, and believe me, nobody thought of dancing. When they had these nasty little sandwiches they passed around on plates, and some people told stupid but kind of funny stories. And the only music was this dreary organ at the church and a couple of creaky hymnals or creaky hymns. Nobody danced, not even close. Be lots of funerals, Malvina points out, them that drowned. Never mind, none of that now, Mr. True turns to me as he changes the subject. So how you get up in that little attic? After I described what happened, the water chasing me and Bandy inside, and we climbed on the table and the chair, Mr. True tells how the flood caught him by surprise, too. How he and Melvina had barely made it out of his home into the canoe they had stored behind the house. The house went under, but my little fishing canoe, it popped up just in time, he says. Floodwaters came so fast, it was all I could do to grab Malvina and get out. Left everything behind, including my phone, my wallet, and all my brass. He shudders a little bit at the recollection. What happened? I fell asleep with my hat on. See, I stayed up all night listening to that hurricane wind and then finally stopped howling. I must have relaxed and nodded off, there in my best chair. Thought we'd be coming through it safe and sound, you understand. Next thing I know, my feet are getting wet. Malvina chimes in. I was sleeping. Thought it was a dream, like me and my mom was at the pool and she was teaching me to swim. I make sure not to ask any more about her mom, and Mr. True gives me a little nod, like he approves of me keeping my mouth shut on that particular subject. Gonna be dark soon, he announces, standing up from the table. Malvina, darling, why don't you, maybe you can find where Della keep her candles. Me and Zane gonna take care of the canoe. While she hunts eagerly through the cupboards, me and Bandy help drag the canoe up the steps and into the apartment, where suddenly it looks much larger than it did outside. Better safe than sorry, he says. No matter what else happens, we got our transportation. Which makes me wonder, what does he mean? We've been blown down by a hurricane, flooded over our heads, lost our homes and everything in them, been baked by the heat, nearly drowned in filthy water, paddled through swarms of flying cockroaches, seen houses crushed by a giant ship, steered away from a terrible sight of floating bodies. I'm thinking it can't get any worse until night comes and the guns start firing.